Good evening and welcome to Separated by War, the podcast for Irish fans of English teams. My name's Colin Campbell, and as you probably know, I'm a Spurs season ticket holder for my sins. My mate here, Paul Galt, as you probably equally know, is a Nottingham Forest fanatic, and we're going to be coming to that in a wee minute or two. So we've had an up and down season, really for me. Lots to talk about, but one of the key things I think this year has been really, I have to say, the surprising success of Nottingham Forest. Although Forest, in my age group, are one of the traditional teams going back to the 60s, even the 50s. They had done extremely well, but they sank away for a number of years. People like Paul stayed loyal, and now they're getting their rewards, I believe so. Okay, so it's Forest tonight. Paul, last season, Forest they avoided relegation. They certainly did. And now they're third in the table. Why? What's happened?
I think there's a multitude of reasons for it. The first one I have to say is the manager. I'll contradict that in a minute by saying that the loss last weekend against Fulham, I would say, was the manager's fault. He set up the team wrong. But I think that our style of football has taken the Premiership by surprise a wee bit. I think that the Premiership has an obsession with possession and beautiful football, like Pep Guardiola football, where you have to have possession and it just has to look lovely. That said, I still enjoy watching Nottingham Forest, and anybody I speak to says the same thing. They enjoy watching Nottingham Forest. It's exciting football. I think the average for each game is something like 38%. It's below 40% in every game possession, but we still manage to do a smash and grab up the pitch, and it's exciting to watch. We just hover about and with a high press, and we push it on.
Let me stop you there. Are you telling me that you're positioning Forest as a kind of contrast to the Manchester Cities of the world and beautiful football versus whatever it is Forest are doing? Would you go that far?
Yeah, I think that what Nuno is doing is that he's capitalising on the players that we have. And I was thinking about that today earlier, relating back to your last podcast, and I don't want to make this about Spurs, but the fact that we work with the players we have, and the fact that we've got the speed in the outside wings with Alanga and Hudson-Odoi. We've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who's the provider in the midfield, with a solid defence, and the three M's that there's been called now, Murillo, Milenkovic and Morata. And I think that yet the same as they are, we don't play the same game as they are, but we can play and get results just.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you mentioned results. It's a results business.
I think that Go ahead.
Okay. Maybe you're telling lies and you've been caught out. I don't know. We need to get you back, Paul.
Can you hear me okay, Colin?
I can now. You did cut out there for a minute or two. I heard you talk about the three M's, named them in defence.
You've gone from us.
No,
sorry, Colin, I'm not getting
the gremlins are
you're
here.
saying at all, mate. You've gone completely.
The gremlins are here. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Colin?
I can hear you now, but I haven't been able to hear you for the last while. I think
Colin has left the building. Anyway, folks, what I was trying to say to Colin there was that we Sorry, Colin. I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi or mine, but something's happening.
No, I'm fine. I think it's fine.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now, but I wasn't able to hear you there for quite a bit. My own seem to be fine. I can see you, but
all right, sorry.
Okay, just
we'll carry on and see how it manages.
Okay, so non-possession football is still effective football. I certainly agree. You kind of mentioned effectively two wingers, strong defence and a midfield provider. Probably a good guy up front, heading them in. He scored a game at the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Um, okay, what constitutes success this season?
Um, Mid-table, what I predicted in our predictions in the first episode of the season, I predicted that we'd get 40 points, 40 plus points, and we'd stay well clear of the relegation zone. That hasn't changed in reality.
Okay.
But that said, by desire and by the fact that we're sitting third in the league, after Christmas, I always say around Boxing Day, Stephen's Day, look at the league and you'll
Yeah.
see where you are, and that should determine where really. And normally, it's never far away after Christmas, because you'll have 50% of your games out of the way, and you should have a fair idea. What
Yeah.
constitutes success? A place in Europe now. A place in Europe would
Aye.
be success beyond belief.
Okay, is that Europa League or Champions League or conference?
Either, either,
So
either
the
or
three.
all. Yeah, at the minute, I would love to say we're going to get Champions League. Champions League is beyond a dream for us at the minute. Can we? But can we achieve it? We might. I don't know. It's the small slip-ups like we've had against Fulham at the weekend there, where we lost 2-1,
Mm.
Bournemouth 5-0. They're the ones that worry me, and that we're maybe starting to get found out a wee bit, and people are trying to find a counter way to play us. But that said, if we get any place in Europe, I'd be very, very happy. But would I love a place in Champions League? Yeah, my God, it would be
Mm.
amazing. Be amazing.
You mentioned there, I was going to ask you about the recent form, which seems a bit extreme, from big defeats to big victories. Admittedly, the one against Fulham was a narrow defeat in terms of the score. It looked like Fulham had a lot of the ball, a lot of the attacks.
Yeah.
What's happening there? What is happening?
Well, what's happening is that, as I just said, I think we're being found out a small bit. I
Simple as
nearly
that.
know. Well, it's this simple that I think we had. Aina had a bad day. Our defence had a reasonably bad day. Matt Sells kept us in the game. You said it was a narrow
Mm.
victory or narrow defeat. It should have been maybe four
Yeah.
one. We could have got our pants pulled down
Yeah,
for us
saying
very
that
easily.
really, yeah.
Um,
Fulham did look
yeah.
good.
So yeah, it just Sells is just an astounding goalkeeper, and he's up there. And to bring that point into it, Colin, and this isn't me going back to the Spurs thing about you saying that you need to buy expensive players. And what I'm saying, and my point in this is that Nuno has done very well with players. If you take Callum Hudson-Odoi and Alanga, combined price for the two of them was 15 million plus extras, according to whatever the extras say. If you take
Yeah.
our defence, Murillo, Morata, and Milenkovic, 12 million, 12 million, and 15 million. That's
Yeah.
buttons compared to some of the money that's been spent on players.
No, I agree. But to be clear, no, I did say Spurs do buy expensive players. What I need them to do, what I love them to do, is buy the
Yeah,
occasional absolutely game-changing player,
yeah,
just to be
yeah.
clear. But I mean, I respect and I love the fact that players can come through at what are still extremely high prices for footballers and perform in the top league, which we think is the Premiership. So, yeah, it sounds good. What has Nuno brought? You mentioned him, seemed to criticize him a wee bit there, but what's he brought? Obviously, I have to not say too much.
Well, I often ask you what went wrong at Spurs because I looked at it and I think these were well up the league at that time. And I asked you a difficult question the other day when we were talking about Spurs. Would you take him back there now? It took me a long time coming to terms with the fact that Steve Cooper had left,
Yeah,
accept him into the club. But I think he's a super manager. I think he's a people manager. I think he gets the best out of each and every individual player. And what he does is, if he doesn't pick somebody, that player knows that their role is still very, very important whenever it comes to coming off the bench. They don't feel as if they're probably fighting for their place, and they probably are a bit pissed off that they're not
should
getting
be,
onto
yeah.
the pitch the first time. But he has them. He's people management. He has them working as a unit. He has them working as an absolute machine where they all seem to be friends. They all seem to get on well. I watch some of their social media stuff, and they're friends, they're buddies. You get the buzz about it. Whenever you work with a good group of people, we all at some stage in our life have a period where we work with the right group of people, and we think this is just right. I think that it is just right. There's no big star in there. There's no big signing, and I was very nervous about getting a major signing in the January window, because I didn't want that apple cart to be upset by somebody coming in on massive wages that was going to upset everybody else, and then everybody else saying, "Well, how come he's not wages when I'm doing that, and how come he's not money when I'm doing this?" You take Wood's up front. I say it every time I mention his name. You told me he would score goals for Forest, and he does. He's 33 years old, 34 years old.
Beauty at the weekend.
Sorry?
A beauty at the weekend against Fulham. The way he stopped the ball and placed it in the net. People don't give him credit for those kind of things. I think he's just at the far post, not in the rim. That was a very good goal.
Yeah, no. Oh, it was a very good goal, and he stops. I wouldn't say he could takers like a real technical ability, but he has. He done it on Saturday, and he's done it before. And I thought he was going to be scoring that Lineker type goal where he's always in the goal line, back post, stop it in, and he does score them. He scores them very well. He seems to find himself in the right place every time.
His comfort zone's beyond, the 6-yard box. Comfort zone's right.
Oh, for sure.
Yard, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, but for a 34-year-old, he falls back as well. He dresses back to defend. You'll see him back in the left wing. You'll see him back in the right wing. He comes back and helps everybody out. And that's what I think Nuno's got. Nuno's got the best out of them because they're playing as a unit. Elliot Anderson, who came from probably one of our most expensive signings, 23 million, he slotted into that team. When he came, I listened to an interview, and he was very, very disappointed. Newcastle boy through and through, came from Newcastle, expected to spend his career at Newcastle, like every boyhood player does, want to play as Brendan Johnson does, and probably wishes he was still back there now. Sorry, I had to have that wee dig. But he arrived in 23 million, big signing. I listened to an interview, and he said, "What's your favourite thing about Nottingham Forest? What's your favourite moment?" And he says, "The day I signed for here, the day I signed the paper, because he's enjoying it. He's playing well, and what a player he's going to be in the future for England and beyond." Him and Morgan Gibbs White, they can read one another like a book. But what has Nuno brought? I think he's brought a collectiveness, that they're all play together. They all know one another, where they're going to be. They know how to play. And I reckon they'll come back on Saturday or Sunday, whenever the match is against Newcastle. And I think they'll kick back the way they did against Brighton. They'll come back and they'll realise, I knew the minute they kicked in, the minute they started the game the other day, I knew we were going to have a bad game, because we weren't passing it the way we can. I knew we were just going to have a bad day. And the last time I seen that was the day against Bournemouth. It was just they were a shocker. Aina's a key player.
Yeah, they're away to Newcastle, aren't they, at the weekend? I think they lost at home to Newcastle. I watched that game at the time. Forest went one up, and I think they thought that was it. I think that started Newcastle's revival. So they need to be careful. But it'd be good for a result. Certainly Newcastle got a hammer in there at the weekend. I don't think anyone who had seen Arsenal destroy City would have predicted that. But fair play to both parties, it would be good. You've mentioned a number of people. Who are the three? Keep it to three key players this season for Forest.
Key players or favourite player?
Key
players. I can't restrict it to three, Colin. I can't. I could, if it was defence, I would name Murillo and Milenkovic.
If you're going to go 3-1-11, that's what I'm saying. You try to pick three.
I would. Three players. Wood. He's just kept on delivering. Goals. Has to be up there. He's going for the top goal scorer in the Premiership at the minute. He's keeping up with them.
Yeah,
which is astounding. Which is absolutely astounding. A man at that age, who ever thought they'd be keeping up with Mo Salah? Now Salah's ahead of him by a few goals, but not many. Our wingers, I'm going to lump them in as two players, but as one. The speed that they have between them Cal Hudson-Odoi and Alanga, they collectively as one, I'm going to put them in as one player. And then Morgan Gibbs-White, the provider. But he can have a bad game. He can have a shocking game as well. And he had a bad game on Saturday. And when he has a bad game, the whole team has a bad game. Um, he just, but that's the beauty of him. He's got a free rein. Nuno has given him a free rein to do what he wants in the midfield. He does the wee flicks, and sometimes you go, "Oh, just pass it normally." But see when them flicks come off, and somebody runs onto it, and they bury the goal in, and you go, "My God, what a pass!" You're going to have failure rate whenever you're having passes like that. Whenever you're trying to be creative like that, you're going to have a failure rate. But his success rate is worth it in the long run because he drops the ball in the right place. I'll never forget the last game of the season, the first year we were up against Arsenal, and he put the ball in for Owadney, and I just thought, is that ball? It was perfect. He just slotted it in, and that's kept us up in the season. So yeah, it's been a great season. We're not worrying about the relegation this year, thankfully.
No,
But I
you
couldn't do
remember.
just three players. So Wood,
Okay,
my wingers, and Alanga.
many's that 4. That's not bad.
Yeah,
Remember, Wood was brought in to keep you up.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and look what's
It's,
happened. I would single
I
out the
don't know. I
goalkeeper.
don't
I
know.
think there were goalkeeping issues
Yeah,
for
I don't.
Forest, and now they're
Yeah,
on.
well, Sells, he's cemented that one, and in
I would
the
single him out. I think
extra
he has
game
been
there.
highly effective over the season. You know, some good saves, gives the confidence to the defence. I think was important as well. And no, I think that's certainly one area that I've seen. Wood, I'm a fan like that player. The ones you mentioned, yeah. I mean, it's all good, but point you raised there about probably what we would call the synergy, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And that's really what you're saying about Forest. So you don't want a player,
So
big money, glitzy type of player coming in. But okay, say you qualify for the Champions League or even the Europa League. How do you go forward?
we go
Do you
forward
not
by
need these superstar players?
well, yeah, but Forest have a great link with Brazil. I don't know how. I've been trying to find out. I know that we've got a serious link with Brazil. We brought in Murillo, Morata. We've got these young players come through. We're buying them for very little money because it's given them an opportunity to get into the Premiership. And then if it doesn't work, if we do buy a pig in a poke, hey ho, we've done that. We take a hit.
Mm,
But there's Murillo. We bought him for 13 million, 12, 13 million.
mm,
He's worth, when he was in the January transfer window, they were talking 88 million. That's what they were asking for him.
well,
So how do we get
okay.
on? If we keep on recruiting like that, and that we bring somebody in and we get the best out of them, and so far it's worked. We have good players.
Yeah,
And
okay.
the team we have at the moment, with a few additions, I think we could do very well in the Europa League. Champions League, I don't
Yeah,
think we'll do very much. Um, but how do we move forward? Good recruitment, selling well, and buying equally as
yeah.
well. Up in the game, moving into a different market.
Uh-huh. Okay, Murillo, please tell me his first name begins with A. No.
I don't know. No, it's Amarillo.
No,
Dissect.
Amarillo. And you could ask him, is this the way? Amarillo. Anyway,
No, no, no,
sorry.
no, no,
Maybe
no.
not right
Hey,
for you.
Spurs could do better. Spurs could do better than find their way to Amarillo. So they
Look,
could.
a team that's tripled Man United this season is not too bad. Players coming back. Look, that's for another day. Another story for another day. Take on to something really haven't as yet. Might be key to the future for Forest and their aspirations. Your owner, you've been very praising, very grateful to the owner of Nottingham Forest, unlike myself. Where are they going with this? What does he want? Does he does he say Forest are going to be the biggest team in the world or going to qualify the Champions League? Well, where he set the bar.
Oh, for sure. He is Forest through and through.
Yeah,
He owns Olympiacos as well. He owns that
yeah,
Rio Ave. team,
Right.
and he owns Nottingham Forest. He spends most of his time at Nottingham Forest. He's in Nottingham. He's very good to the community. He sets up loads of good things
Yeah.
that I know about through their socials and one thing and another. But he also
You're
is
going to tell me in a minute he robs from the rich to give to the poor. Are you going to say that?
well, it's a bit it's maybe a bit of a cliche, but it's a bit like that, to be honest, because he has been very good. He's good for food banks and stuff like that there. But
Mm.
he, more importantly, Colin, what he done is that he came in. I'll just give you one example. He came in.
Hmm.
The owners of Nottingham Forest for years were paying a ground rent to the council of 250,000 a year. They upped that whenever
Right.
Marinakis come into 1 million a year. And he said, no, I'm not paying you that. I want to buy it. He wants to buy it. So he bought it. And he has that now. I think there's some ground rent or freehold for
Yeah.
126 years, which is a long way. So he didn't do that because he's running Forest like a business, but he's running like a business like he wants to succeed as a business as well. And as I say, I think his
I,
recruitment's right. Olympiakis,
yeah.
we swap with Olympic. And I'm not saying I'm comfortable with a team or an owner owning two teams. Like we had to make a
Yeah.
change there with our chairman. What Marinakis' son was one of the chairmen or a chairman, and I think he's been changed as a chairman to a co-owner, pure simply because of the option that we might succeed in getting into Europe and we might come up against
Yeah.
Olympiacos, and you can't have that.
Yeah.
So it's it's a
Well,
very I'm not
Olympiacos, serious winners. I think they're the most decorated team in
yeah,
Greece.
I agree. Yeah.
So I think they are. They're not. They're up there. So he's used to winning.
Well, he's used to winning. He's used to, and he's going to get it. He's going to get what he wants in that way. That he's going to get what he puts into it, and if he puts into what he put into Olympiacos, then he's going to do very well. And I do think that he's got plans for the regeneration of the stadium, taking it up by another 5,000. I don't think he's going to do a big Everton super stadium or a big Spurs super stadium. And I'm not sure I want that at the City Ground. I still like walking along the banks of the Trent and going to see it and enjoying it and the
Yeah.
approach in. And a big stadium somewhere else is not what I want. I want to remain on site where they are. That's just where it is,
Yeah. I've seen Forest
I think overall,
recently. It's nice going into
yeah,
Nottingham and see the ground. It's beautiful
yeah,
positioning. I would nothing to do with me, but I can see why you're saying what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's very good. It's very good. So that's where I am with Forest. Anywhere in Europe next year, gladly take it. Any any chance of a position in Europe, what team that were fighting relegation last year wouldn't accept it? Being above Man City, being above Spurs, being above
Yeah.
Man United, being above hopefully Arsenal at the end of the season because of a bet on with Sunday about it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So do I.
that's all
So
to
do I.
be jockeyed for. So we'll just wait and see. We'll just wait and see where it all ends up.
You certainly
Yep.
can, and see from that. Okay, your owner decides then that he really wants to take this on in this lovely world. He says, right, Champions League is going to be a prerequisite. I'm going to buy Galacticos. I'm going to increase I'm going to move Forest. Would you welcome that kind of sea change in the name of success or not? Would you interpret that as selling your soul or as progress, very necessary progress?
Um, I think that as long as it doesn't happen, and I'll quote, I'll mention the ones like if you look at the way Chelsea done it, uh, whenever the Russian owned them, I forget his name,
Abramovich, Abramovich,
Abramovich. Like they just, if you ask me, they bought the league. If you ask me, City have done the same in the last few years. They've just bought a team, and I'm glad that the rules of PSR as hopefully is going to
Mm,
eradicate that being done. And I don't want that to ever happen again. I think that there has to. I don't. I think it leaves a club without soul, without any passion. Yeah, if you could just come in and buy the biggest team, for me, it's not the way it should be. You should be building a team around some semblance of rules and regulations, and trying to
yeah,
make sure that it's built up slowly. Do I want a massive big club that's multi-million-pound players, and no, I don't. I would like it to continue to move on slowly. It's actually moved on faster this year than I thought it would. So I'll take this rate of going, just keep on ticking over now. And I'll tell you now, anybody who thinks, while Marinakis is there, anybody who thinks Forest are here just a flash in the pan, you're in for a surprise. Forest are back. Forest are back in the whether we'll be competing for Champions League this season or not, but we're going to be in or about the mix. And I reckon we're going to be a good FA Cup team this year. We're a good run in the league. And I think that we can make it through to a place in Europe. And if we do that, then that's progress. And as long as we just do that slowly, build on it slowly, I don't see any problem with it.
Well, just one point there to clarify. Yeah, you're right. But this season, FA Cup, Champions League or Europe, okay. And then that's where the bar set from now on. Then is that we're forced? Are they back there in a few years? Top 6, top 8?
I would say if we were getting the top 6 or we're jockeying for the top 6 next year, I would still be happy. If we get European places, back to what Anthony said, why did we not pick Newcastle for top 6 back in the day? The reason I didn't pick them because I thought they'd have too much football on, and I thought they came to fruition too quick. If we make a place in Europe next year, we won't do a top 6 place next year unless we buy extremely well and keep on building what we have. I reckon there'll be too much football for us next year, but if we have a chance of winning the European trophy, we'll be back down. We'll slip back down into hopefully top 10, as long as we're not good. Yeah, I just think that if we can keep ticking away, getting a good run in the FA Cup, any trophy. If we're getting a sniff around any trophy, any part of the year, then I'm happy. Very happy.
Yeah, no, you and me too. No, it sounds good. Yeah. One final question from me, I suppose. If you could have one player from any other team in the Premiership, one player from any other team in the Premiership to go in Forest from the weekend coming, who would that be?
It would have to be. See, Mo Salah would have to be Mo Salah. He has to be the best striker in the league. Has to be the best.
So who you dropped? Who's benched? Bring him in.
Who would bench him? Well, he'd be there. He'd be there to rotate around on Chris Wood. The two of them work together.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Right. Anything else you want to say about the Lost Forest? And I really enjoyed your enthusiasm and your knowledge, of the detail. I mean, just from my point of view, I've maybe said it earlier, but I do want to say it again. I think there are people, who have come in what are called the Sky TV generation, who watch a lot of their football on TV, which is fine, because it brought so much to all this, who will know of teams, only the teams who've been winning more, serial winners that time, Man United, Blackburn had one go, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, more recently, obviously, Man City, and so on and so forth. But there's a list of old traditional teams, and Nottingham Forest was always one of them. Terry Hennessy, Peter Gromit, and then you have, of course, Brian Clough. What I would say is Nottingham Forest were a big team before he came. Now they're a big team since he's gone. And I think that's something to be borne in mind as well. Great history.
There's a thing, I don't know if you ever notice it if you watch Match of the Day. There's so much TV now that we watch so much on Sky and we watch it on other channels. Match of the Day, historically, look at it next Saturday night. Historically, Nottingham Forest are always shown last. Always. Their game, the preview of their game, or the review of their game, I should say, is always shown last. I turn on the radio in the morning to talk sport. I turn it on to 5 Live. You hear Spurs, Arsenal, United. We're talking about United, and they're sitting at the middle of the league playing terrible. So what do we talk about? We talk about Man United playing terrible in the middle of the league. What do we talk about? Spurs. We talk about Spurs because you're in trouble down there. We talk about Arsenal. We talk about the cities. Why are City not in the European places? They always talk about the top 6. The top 6 being Man City, Spurs, Arsenal, United, and others. Is
there's
it
challenge.
frustrating?
It is frustrating. I can understand that. And I do understand. But what I'll tell you is I think there's a dilemma there. And the dilemma is while you're walking down the road at the River Trent to go into your nice ground, while I was walking up the Tottenham High Road to go into my nice ground, there's millions of people across the world watching these games. And it's for them that a lot of the pitching is now done. Because whether we like it or not, 30,000 goes into City Ground, 60 into Tottenham Stadium. There's millions across the world watching, and Forest will need to do something to attract those fans in the United States and in the Far East, wherever it might be, possibly in Africa in the future, and so on and so forth. And that's with buying the shirts and all that. And there's legacy that obviously I think City have started to encroach in that, and Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool with the old traditions, and that's something Forest obviously need to do to increase their profile. And sometimes that profile increase is with top name show business style players, whether they like it or not. So that might be the challenge.
But there is an
more
upside
people
to
will
that
be
as well.
talking about them.
Yeah, but there is an upside to it as well, Colin. And that's where I was going with it. That it is frustrating whenever they're not talking about it. It's frustrating whenever you just hear the same teams talking about over and over again. Even if they're playing bad, they're still talking about how they're playing bad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that we're coming in under the radar, and we'll wait and see. I heard. I can't remember one of the pundits saying Forest they won't get a place in Europe. It's not happening. That was before Christmas. The other day, he had to eat his words and say, actually. Sure, at the start of the year, Jamie Carragher, Neville, both said that Forest would be in the relegation zone, that they've been spinning around the sink for 3 years now. They're going to get down the sink this year. Well, we're not. We're not. And maybe just shows that tiny bit of respect and acknowledge the history we have, the history that we have as a team and hopefully in the future. I don't want to sound as if I'm
that's what I was saying to you.
It just gets a bit frustrating. It just gets a bit
That's
frustrating.
what I was saying to you there. That's why I respected the history and you heard what I said.
Yeah.
I think there's things about that. One is pundits will say things to get it to draw attention. So because that's the business. And the second one is, for God's sake, don't be accrediting any of these guys with a massive insider, massive intelligence. They're on business. They'll say what they say, and that will change. And occasionally, yes.
Yeah.
Usually I say that they've had an outstanding attack of common sense or intelligence. Usually when they say something I agree with, and other than that I don't. But, whether we like it or not, pure economics, people will talk about the biggest port, the biggest port is a fan of Man United, then Liverpool, then Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, whatever it may be. And there's other ones like Leeds have a big following, City, and so on and so forth. And that's the way it is. And then another team will break into it. And hopefully it's Forest. I've met 3 or 4 Forest fans. Not in Northern Ireland. Pretty good,
Yeah.
I hope to meet more as time goes on.
Oh, we're out there. We are out there, and there's plenty of us, and it'll be growing now. There's an upturn. Whenever you see them sitting third in the league, young fellas will be starting to pick a team, and hopefully a few will pick a good team instead of picking.
And from our point of view, as you're separated by water, Forest is quite easy to get to, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, you can
where do you fly into?
East Midlands,
where do you fly into?
Birmingham's the chosen place. East Midlands don't fly from Cork. If I'm flying from Cork, I would go to Birmingham or Manchester, get the train down. It's easy. But if you can get a flight into East Midlands from Dublin or Belfast, absolutely perfect. Yeah, so it's a nice journey.
Although, as you've said before, tickets are difficult to get at the moment. But see how it goes.
Yeah, but hopefully that's going to rise maybe 5,000. So hopefully we'll get more tickets next year. And
anything you want to leave with on matters Forest?
No, I just want to thank the 2 guys that done travel diaries for us, Charlie Vaughan and Tim Sullivan, they're up on the website there. Please leave like them. And if you know anybody would be interested in watching them, send it on to them, get them to subscribe to the channel, and we're going up slowly. Some people seem to enjoy watching the travel diaries more than the podcasts themselves.
Well, if I can say that's good, because that's a key part of what we're here to do. We're here to provide information for people who want to go over, and that's part of our raison d'etre. and that's good. And thanks to the guys for doing it. We'll try and get a few more in.
Exactly.
We're hoping to be back with a bit more
So,
consistency now, aren't we?
yes, we will. And any problems with the technology, we'll try and get on top of that tonight, and
Yeah,
we'll
apologies
address
for
it
that.
in the chatties in the future. But Colin, thanks for spinning them questions to me. I wish I'd maybe had a wee bit of
Pleasure.
more knowledge of what you were going to ask me. You sideswiped me with a pick a favourite player or somebody going to come in, but Salah would be the man I'd pick to come in.
Oh, well, I mean,
Too many
it's
others.
an immediate reaction, you know. It's kind of sometimes
Yeah.
getting an immediate reaction, probably a true one. And I'm interested that you went for a forward. Probably we'd all go for forwards. And you did acknowledge, you did sort of acknowledge as probably the only one or one of very few who has a higher score rate than Wood at the moment, you know. So
Yeah.
fair
Who
play to
do
you.
you have at the weekend? Just to close on the Spurs and a preview of the weekend. Who have you got at the weekend?
Ipswich.
In
Away.
Ipswich.
Yeah.
Away. I tell you now, they're no slouches. I went to the Ipswich.
Oh, no.
Forest had Ipswich at home. We won, I think, 2-1. We won by a goal, I think. No, it was just one goal. It was a penalty. We won by
Yeah,
one goal. And I tell you
that's right.
what,
You were there.
they were tough. They were tough to break down.
Oh,
And the fans
aye,
are
and
amazing. The fans were
yeah,
amazing.
good guys, the tractor boys and Dylan playing well.
Yeah.
I think Tom, I mean, I was meant to go to the game. I couldn't. My friend, his daughter took ill and we just didn't go under the circumstances. We got our tickets sold on, but that, you know, if I had been there, Spurs probably would have lost. But I do think Vicario coming back, and I think Madison had a game. It's maybe starting to take shape a wee bit again. But you know, the protests, people are cruel about it. I think they're getting traction. I think they'll be noticed, and I think they will increase in vociferousness as we go along, you know. And that's nothing to do with the team. The team pitch we love, support, so on and so forth. We feel like everything that you've said, Paul, about your owner, it's driven towards winning football matches, making the team better and better and better. And
Yeah.
I'm so envious, you know.
I have to say
absolutely.
that whenever I put over the conversation in my mind about levy in, levy out, and all that
Yeah.
stuff, I go like this. I flip from side to side, and some of the time I'm agreeing with you, and then I'm thinking, no, it's just bad. It's bad management by the infrastructure at the club. Is it a culture thing, Colin, that you aren't getting it sorted out? Is it a culture thing that you
But
aren't buying properly? Is it a culture
who
thing that you're not
creates the
selling
culture? You
properly?
see, the problem is who creates the culture. You know, and there's the old saying in management, a snake rots from the head down.
Yeah.
And the culture can't be created by a 17-year-old winger. It comes from the top, and the belief system around the club, the belief about what you're there to achieve, who wants to be there, are you going to go to win or are you not? You know, and it's not as bad as I've made it
Yeah.
sound sometimes, but I think it could be a lot better. And I think the culture is one whereby we get so far, but we don't get there. And that needs to change, in my opinion. But that's for another day. We have Spurs Day.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you
Well,
very much
we'll chat
indeed.
about it again. No, thank you as
Yeah,
well. And thanks, everybody. If you just like, subscribe, share, and do the business for us,
please
we'd
do.
be grateful.
Please.
And thank you very much for that. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll get maybe another one up in the next week or so, Colin.
Yeah, we'll do that. Definitely do that. Yeah. Okay, my friend. Good luck.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Same to you. Take care.
Cheers.